We're out here in Washington State at a beautiful campsite, and I'm here with my good buddy Nate from Dirt Lifestyle. And we've been talking along this trip about what's the right overland vehicle, and we get those questions all the time. And so we thought what we do today is turn the camera on, let it roll, and give you our thoughts and opinions. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon, I'm Brad, and today I'm super excited to be out here in Washington State with my good buddy Nate from Dirt Lifestyle. Dude, what an epic campsite and what an epic trip.
So far we have just been batting 1,000. Every site's been great. Yeah. We've been really lucking out because, you know, when you research these things, it's you just pull up Gaia or Onyx or Google Earth or whatever, and you're just like, it looks like this area is going to be rad. Yeah. And then luckily they are when we showed up. Right. So yeah. It doesn't always work out that way.
So to set the stage here a little bit, my wife and I and my good buddy Josh, we left 7 days ago from San Diego, California to drive all the way up here to Washington to meet up with you. And then we've been on the trail at some campsites for, this is day 4, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm losing track.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's day 4.
Yeah, and so he's been guiding us to some amazing spots, places he's never been before, and every night just seems to get better and better at camp. But the cool thing about this adventure is every single one of the vehicles behind us is really different.
Very different.
And so we've been talking along the way about, you know, what's the right setup, or how do you choose an overland vehicle? And I know you have started to get a lot of those questions because you've been doing a lot more overlanding.
Yep.
I get those questions all the time, and what a great opportunity to just turn the camera on. We'll do a coffee one take and talk about, you know, some ideas and thoughts about choosing the right overland vehicle.
Considerations.
Yeah.
Things to consider whenever you're looking around.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the first consideration is, what's your mission? What's your objective, right? Like, where do you want to go? How many people do you need to take with you? I think that has to be the first thought process. You've got several vehicles. Some are rock crawlers, some are overlanders. When you were getting ready to start building those, you had to think about that a little bit.
Definitely.
What were some of the things that went through your head?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's so many things actually, because I mean, many of us will do an overland build out of a used vehicle, right? I mean, there's plenty of people doing it at brand new vehicles, but I would say if you looked at it statistically, it's probably way more with used vehicles. And it's like, how do you even choose that? That's the real starting point. Which ones are reliable enough, or which ones fit into my budget enough, or which ones are gonna, you know. So for me, it's like things that I'm interested in. I'm a car nut, so I own lots of vehicles, and my overland build isn't here. It's a Land Rover, and I've only heard things about Land Rover, never owned a Land Rover, but it seemed like there's so much room for gear, and these have a really good notoriety for like off-road capability. And so I started, and then the budget is great for those in the United States. Like, people are sleeping on Land Rovers, so they're cheap. Right. And so that's how I started. And so we bought a Land Rover just to see, once we determined that it was reliable enough, then I started building it.
People are like, what?
Yeah, I know. Well, the reality is the reputation is horrible for those for reliability, but my experience has been great. So once we started to have some faith in it, I was like, you know what? I want to put some time and energy and actually build this out as my primary overland.
So your mission for that vehicle, is it safe to say, was you wanted your family to be comfortable in it?
Yes.
You wanted to be able to do some hardcore stuff in it as well, not just the easy stuff.
I'd like to be able to do the Rubicon in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's one side of the scale of,
certainly.
That's more of the, I mean, I call it the Rocklander, which I love.
Yeah.
But
it is, you're right.
So I think the mission there is, you know, look, you want to go tackle some hardcore trails, but you still want to bring your family along the way,
and still be comfortable.
Right.
It's hard to get all those things into one package.
Yeah. Now I think the other side of the spectrum is probably what we saw on the trail yesterday.
Yes.
Which was a Volkswagen Tiguan with a couple in there.
Yep.
And obviously they're not going to do any crazy rock crawling, but they came out here
on the same trail we are.
Same trail we are, and man, that was cool to see. I mean, it was not it was pretty stock except for a little storage and stuff.
Yeah, I think that it had like a rack where they had like, you know, one of those totes on top of it.
Right.
It's like, honestly, that was kind of the perfect example of how a lot of people start out doing this. Right. Where it's like you have, maybe you're into hiking or whatever, so you get an all-wheel drive little like crossover thing like the Tiguan.
Right.
And then you know, COVID hits and you decide, I want to go outside and camp more, which is what a lot of people have done recently. And so you start to, throw a rack on it and different stuff. You start to learn about places like the Backcountry Discovery Route, which is what we're on.
Yeah.
And, this is what I've got. Let's go try it out.
Right.
And they seemed completely confident. They must have been out here before.
Yeah, so I think we were even talking about it on the trail was, okay, it's cool that you could do this in a stock vehicle, but I got to think there were a couple of those spots where they were
driving.
working hard. But that's another point I think is important to talk about when you're choosing an overland vehicle is your driving skills.
Yeah.
Right? If you are a complete noob to off-roading and you've never done anything like that before, to take a stock vehicle out like that on, I mean, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but for that vehicle it would have been, you need to get your driving skills in order before you could do that.
There's spots where they're going to have a tire in the air.
Right.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Because that thing's made to stay flat on the highway or like drive through like snowy roads or something.
Right. So I think if you're trying to figure out, okay, should I just get, I don't know, no offense to Subaru guys, but a stock Subaru, or should I get a Jeep that's already got 33-inch tires on it?
Which, by the way, to interject, I believe there was a Subaru with the Tiguan.
Oh, there might have been. I know there was a Toyota guy.
It was like 3 rigs. There's a 4Runner, a Subaru, I believe. Yeah, it was a Toyota, a Subaru, and a Tiguan.
Yeah.
And it was like, and they're going all the way to Oregon.
Right.
So they're very confident that no one looked worried. They're like, all right, let's air down the Tiguan and hit the trails.
Yeah. And our diverse group back here. So let's you can kind of see back here. So we have, what year is that Liberty?
The Liberty is a 2005 Jeep Liberty diesel.
Right, so diesel, which is cool, but it's a 2005 Jeep Liberty on 31s.
Yep.
Then we've got your Tacoma, which is still stock wheels and stock suspension.
Yeah, stock suspension, stock wheels. The only mods that I've really done to it are like some storage stuff, and then I did a front bumper and a winch.
Right.
And then, I did build some sliders for it. But other than that, for capability-wise, it's identical to how it came from the factory.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got Josh, which is a Gladiator on 37s with that amazing alu cab on the back.
He's got an amazing off-road setup. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And then we've got the Power Wagon, which is a full-size vehicle.
Yeah.
With the camper back there. And so we've got, even in our group, there's a broad spectrum, but we're still doing the same mission, right? We're just doing it differently.
Yeah.
Like your brother is using Liberty and he's tent camping. And Josh and I are glamping a little bit. And you've got a trailer, which is a whole nother factor.
I'm glamping.
Right?
Yeah. And the trailer makes it to where I don't have to have all the stuff in the bed.
Yeah.
But I still be able to be very comfortable. It's nice at night for sure.
Yeah. Well, now thoughts on should I get a full-size vehicle or should I get a compact vehicle? Because we have both back here.
Yeah, we do.
What are your thoughts on that?
It depends where you live. Like if you're in the Midwest, or if you're like, in the Utah area or anything like that, I feel like a full size is the way to go. Yeah. Because you get the extra space, the extra cargo capacity is one that a lot of people, like the actual ability to carry weight is huge. Right. Because even if you're not glamping, just basic camping gear and then all the water you need for a trip and your food, that it adds up really fast. Yeah. And then if you want to put 4 people in there and your dog and all this stuff. By the way, this is Bear. Maybe he's off camera now, but it just adds up so fast. So I feel like a full size is it's an overlooked way to do it. A lot of people think you need to get a little Jeep. But look at you. You're out here, full size, 37s, got a pop-up camper on the back.
Yeah, so I think, I think in the beginning, and your story's probably similar, was I was a backpacker for a long time. And when I started, deciding that we wanted to go out further and we didn't want to come back late at night, so we would camp there, I just grabbed my old backpack from doing my hiking.
Exact same
And so it was the bare bones basic. And so I didn't need a lot of storage. My vehicle was capable, but I didn't need a lot of storage.
And all the gear's so light because it's for backpacking.
Yeah, it's for
So you're adding like 40 pounds to your kit plus water or whatever.
but then there is, okay, now we're doing like we're doing right now, which is long-term trip.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, can you live out of that? Yes, is it fine?
Absolutely.
It is, but at some point, a little bit of creature comforts are important. And that's where I think you've got to start, okay, is my vehicle going to work for aftermarket support, or am I going to fabricate some stuff and build it up?
Yeah.
What do I want? Do I want a fridge? Do I want storage? If you have that little Jeep Liberty, you can do it.
Yeah.
It would be tough for a family of 4.
Family of 4 for sure. My brother and his wife, and they got a brand new baby. They'll be able to fit in there, no problem. And then we're going to put a big old rack on the top so you can put some extra storage up there.
Right.
But yeah, in a Liberty, it's always pros and cons. Off-road, he was great yesterday.
Super nimble.
Nimble, really light. It was a
Right.
great setup.
Yeah.
But whenever you get to camp, he's spending a lot more time to set all that stuff up. A lot more time. He's been taking it down for a while.
Right.
Roll up your air mattress, take down the tent, and so it's just, you weigh the pros and cons. But Liberty was awesome off-road. It just makes it to where you don't have as much creature comforts once you get to your destination, like where we are right now.
Yeah, and then we got Josh in the Gladiator. He's solo, but he could easily put a family of 3, maybe even 4 in that thing.
Yeah.
And he's got a little, he actually has a fireplace in the back of that Alucab.
It's amazing.
And so he turned that thing on this morning, and he was super warm in there. That's a nice creature comfort to have. I mean, when you get up in the morning and to be able to have a little heat before you roll out of there. I mean, look, I've woken up camping and it's 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It can be a little uncomfortable,
Definitely.
So what are you going to outfit your vehicle with? You need to think about that. What about range?
I think range is really important.
Super important. If you're if you know that you are only gonna do, short trips or maybe a couple weekend trips, and you're only gonna be 20 or 30 miles off road before you get back on pavement, and there's a gas station available, there's some consideration in that. Right now, we're on a trail where we're about 120 miles of some slow going. Up and down.
Yeah.
I mean, my gas mileage is horrible.
Mine
right
is
now.
too. Hauling a little trailer up all those grades. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't bring any fuel, but we did think about that before we got here. I'm like, I'll be okay, but
That's not always the case.
yeah, it's not always the case. So the big debate. I already know what you're going to say. Gas or diesel, and should you bring extra fuel?
Yeah. I would say I'd try to not pack extra fuel. I'd rather have a vehicle that can just hold enough.
Right.
So, like my Land Rover, for instance, it's a luxury vehicle from the early 2000s, and it's got a V8 and it's thirsty, but it's got a big enough tank that so far it hasn't been a problem. But if it does become a problem for me, I would build or buy a larger tank because I don't want to have all those jerry cans and stuff. But man, ideally, if you can get like my brother's Liberty over there, that diesel, he gets crazy good range out of it, and so. It would be nice to have a setup where you don't necessarily have to carry a whole bunch of extra fuel.
And yeah, I mean, Josh isn't even thinking about it. Right?
Yeah,
he's
diesel.
He's fully loaded. Like he's big tires, fully loaded.
Yep.
And I think the diesel tank is like 18.3 gallons. I have the Ram Power Wagon, which again is getting horrible gas mileage, but it does have a 31-gallon tank.
Yeah.
So he and I are about neck and neck.
Yeah.
He's just doing it more
with half
the price, right?
Yeah.
So he's doing it with half the price. But I do think, like when I go to Alaska or whatnot, I'm really going to have to make sure I bring some extra fuel. So fuel range is super important.
And then you got to figure out where to store it and all that other stuff that comes with with that problem.
Do you have a place to store it, right? I mean, if you're going to buy a vehicle, is there an aftermarket, bumper or an aftermarket storage space? I think it's important to really just see what's available in the aftermarket.
Yeah.
Unless you intend to fabricate it, and let's be honest, that's a minority of the people.
It is. That's what I do. My Land Rover is completely hand fabricated because there was like hardly any aftermarket support.
Right.
So I had to build the entire. It's taken me a year. Yeah. Last time I used it was this time of year, last year with Brad, and then it's been in my shop ever since, where I've been slowly building all this stuff out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a consideration.
Let's talk about comfort. How important is comfort to you on a long trip?
For me, it's everything. And it comes from, and it wasn't always that way. I was a Boy Scout. We both come from backpacking, where it's like, it's all about this. It's about the sights and about the experience and, the exercise and all the other stuff. But eventually, I don't know, I got tired of like just sleeping on the ground. And, comfort for me now is really important, especially because I've done so much cross-country travel. And I made sure my tow rig is comfortable. And you can tell such a huge difference where between a 6-hour trip and a 12-hour trip. And if you're comfortable on the 12-hour trip, you can feel more rejuvenated than uncomfortable on a 6-hour trip.
Right. So choosing a vehicle, just because it has 4x4, doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable to drive off-road. But there's the on-road aspect as well, right?
Yeah.
We put in a lot of, I've put in a lot of miles just to get here.
Yeah.
To be in an open-air Jeep for 7 days wouldn't be the best.
No. Yeah. Or like I used to have a K5 Blazer, leaf sprung all around, thing bounces you all over the place off-road. Yeah. And so that's a consideration.
Yeah, my Cherokee Chief, I love driving that thing. I wouldn't want to drive it on this trip.
For a trip this long?
That's hardcore. My wife would not be happy with me.
For sure.
Yeah, it would be blast. It would be fun for a little bit, but not for day 7 and soon to be day 10. And now what about like comfort sleeping. So rooftop tents.
Yeah.
I see rooftop tents on some vehicles. Sometimes I'm like, that's not meant to be on top of that vehicle. That rack, that roof is not rated for a rooftop tent.
Yeah. So my opinion on that is like it's different tool for every job. I think that for me with my Land Rover, I had to sacrifice on-road comfort for off-road or for like camping comfort,
right,
because I put a rooftop tent. The Land Rover is already a tall-bodied vehicle because it has a little bubble and stuff in the back, and so you really feel it on road, and it's tippy.
Yeah.
But the benefit is once I get to camp, I mean, it's set up in like a minute,
Yeah.
and sleeping in it is outstanding. You're up off the ground, especially when you're in a place like this, which is bear country,
right,
you feel a little more comfortable being up off the ground and whatnot. And so you just weigh that. I guess maybe where you live, where you go, and what kind of trips you intend on doing, right?
So I think, yeah, exactly. I think when you're choosing a vehicle, if you want a rooftop tent, you don't want to sleep on the ground, you need to do a little homework before you make that purchase.
Yeah.
Because there may not be an aftermarket bolt-on rack available for it. That roof may not be rated to hold, 300 to 500 pounds worth
Definitely.
of weight. I've seen some on vehicles. I'm like, that's a Civic, and he's got a rooftop tent on there. There's no way that Civic roof is meant for
with
500
like
pounds.
crossbars that just kind of barely clamp
Right,
the window
they're on
edges.
the rain gutters, Off-road,
Yeah.
there's no way that would work. So another thing I think that is important is availability for parts. Because whether it's used or new, because we know that new vehicles break down, if you have just the most estranged vehicle and you need a part and you got to run to Napa to get something, you may be waiting 4 or 5 days before they can get something if you have an odd vehicle.
I actually have a story about this, quick one. So I'm from Oklahoma, but I live in Washington. Yeah. And I was going home to visit, and this is like, I was a younger man. I should have just flown, but we took my Volkswagen GTI from Washington down to Oklahoma. And in Wyoming, I had a radiator hose blow, which is like not an uncommon thing to have happen on any vehicle.
Yep.
You get a high miles rig, it probably had like 140,000 miles, probably original radiator hose, and it split and started puking in the middle of Wyoming.
Yeah.
It took over a week to get a radiator hose. We had to rent a car, finish the trip. The GTI sat at a shop, and they waited for a hose to come in from Denver. But the snow was so bad and all this other stuff, there was literally no Volkswagen dealerships in Wyoming. So it's something to consider. Now, we're not talking about GTIs, but in my Land Rover, I don't know, where I live in Washington, it's not hard to get parts for it. But if I'm in the middle of the country, I don't know, if I'm in Utah and I do have a water pump failure, is it easy to get? Is it hard to get? I know it's not going to be as easy to get as like a Chevy Silverado water pump or a Jeep water pump.
Right.
So that's absolutely a consideration.
100%. You definitely got to think about that. It's okay to go bizarre and crazy. I did a video where it was a bunch of unique off-road, and this one guy had this Japanese fire truck.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, it was really
Super cool.
But if you break apart, like
definitely.
how long is it going to take you to get it, replacement
Where do you
part?
get an alternator for that thing?
Right, yeah.
There's just basic things that fail on all vehicles is something you're going to have to source. So either, I guess you either have to collect the parts ahead of time so you have them on hand, or just cross your fingers,
Yeah, I think that's it. Well, anything else that you think is a good consideration for choosing a vehicle?
Well, I think we covered all the big, comfort, range is huge.
Yeah.
Reliability, and it's what a topic.
Hit and miss, I think.
It is, because a lot of what my personal experience has been, a lot of what is reputable for being ultra reliable is a lot of times it's just really good marketing and really good hype from the community involved. And so which makes it really complicated to pick out what you think is going to be reliable. But anyway, I think we pretty much hit on everything.
Yeah.
And then there's like how capable does it need to be off-road?
Right.
I overbuild. I'm from a rock crawling background. I overbuild everything. Yeah. So you're going to see me overland with stuff that, I would gladly be on 37s and lockers for this trip.
Yeah.
And we saw Tiguan doing it.
Yeah.
So
for me, the Ram Power Wagon, that's a tool for a specific mission.
Yeah.
It's for long range, easy to moderate trails, just like this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go do Slick Rock, or I'm not going to take that to Moab, or I'm not going to go to, I probably could do all those things. It's probably not the right tool though for the job. That's where my Jeep and maybe the trailer is a better tool. And so I think you definitely have to think about what do you want to do. And the thing is it's probably going to change. You and I have changed drastically since we started doing this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're going to evolve, and if you have a family, they're going to maybe evolve. You may take them out on a hardcore trail, and your spouse may be like, "We're not doing that ever again," or "Let's do more of that." You know.
And one thing that I would consider that the reason that I like to overbuild stuff is the just in case factor, because we've both been on trips where the weather drastically changes, and I mean it could be as simple as rocks falling in the way of the only way out, or a mudslide, or whatever. Like where we're at right now, that Tiguan could absolutely get up to this place. But if it rained last night, they would be stuck. There's no doubt about it. Because this stuff, I mean, I've been up here and wheeled in it when it's wet. It's just crazy soupy as soon as it gets wet at all. So having lockers front and rear, the lift, all that stuff isn't necessarily a requirement to get here, but sometimes it's a requirement to get home. And the winch too. I've had some people comment like, you don't need a winch for an overlander, just pick the right kind of areas. And I'm like, man, you just never know what could happen.
Never know.
A tree could fall across, and you're away from everyone, which is what we're trying to do. And you could be stuck up there because you don't have a way to get the tree out of your way. So those are all considerations too when you're building something.
How far off the grid do you want to get? I mean, look, this is pretty accessible by a lot of people. Tiguan, right? But there are places that you can go that you're not going to get there unless your vehicle is super capable, you know, overbuilt a little bit, larger tires, taller suspension. And so if you're okay with just coming out here to where the majority of people come, which is pros and cons. It's easier to get to, but you could get out here and all these campsites could be taken.
Could be full.
But you know there's one spot, I could get back there, and not most people get back there. Your vehicle may need to be a little more capable. So.
Absolutely. So there's just the confidence that comes in having something that's a little bit built more than what you need. And to have that winch to be able to recover yourself, or even as simple as recovering somebody else. Sometimes you see that person who's slid off in a snowdrift, and you could make their day by just helping them get out of that snowdrift.
My winch has been used to help other people more often than it's been
used to help me. Same here. I always try to help other people when I see them stuck. So,
well, buddy, my wife is cooking up some pancakes back there, so I think we should go eat some pancakes. But man, number one, brother, thank you so much for this trip. It has been amazing. And thanks for getting on camera and doing coffee one take, even though I'm the only one drinking coffee. It's all good.
I had to quit. I'm a chatterbox without coffee. But thanks for coming up, man. And you know, it was a long drive for you just to start the trip, and I'm happy. I'm so happy to be able to share Washington with you guys.
It's been awesome. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. If you have questions or comments on some things that you think are important for choosing an overland vehicle, put them down below. Let's have a good discussion about it. Nate and I'll chime in, and we can continue to talk more in the comments. You got to get out here to Washington, guys. Thanks for watching.